guys can join us
Very
again.
excited to have you.
I'm Jamir.
And I'm Deandra.
And we thank you for tuning into
Meet the Nicholsons,
a place where we discuss family, fun, finances, faith, and relationships.
Yep.
So what's on the agenda for today, babe? What are we talking about?
In light of the social distancing thing that we're practicing,
6 feet.
6 feet, right? I wanted to talk about boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yes, not just boundaries as far as being 6 feet away so that you don't catch COVID-19 or any other diseases, but boundaries that need to be placed within relationships so that we can live less stressful lives.
Yeah.
Do you know that stress is one of the number one killers in the world today? And studies show that 50% of the stress that people take on is due to the relationships that they're in. Okay. So it can range from anywhere, a personal relationship with your spouse to your relationship with your kids, to your at work relationships where this stress could be coming from. And so setting boundaries are very important.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that today.
Cool. Well, I know a little bit about boundaries. I mean, there are different types of boundaries that we go into. And I guess setting boundaries, you have two different sides of that coin, if you will. You do have to set boundaries in the beginning, I would say. That's very important that a lot of people, they don't really look into. But you also, I think it's a little bit difficult when you're setting boundaries with existing relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's super tough.
Absolutely. The thing about boundaries, I don't know if you guys know what they are, but boundaries are basically guidelines and rules on how you want to be treated in a relationship.
Right.
Whether it be professional, personal, whatever. These are the guidelines that you've set in those relationships. And it's important to understand that boundaries don't control other people or their actions, but boundaries are in place so that way you teach other people how to treat you.
Exactly. That's major, teaching other people how to treat you. And I hear that so many times, so I've heard it recently a lot. And that's very important. That's an interesting concept to teach other people how to treat you. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? That's something they should teach in school, I think.
They should teach it in school. I'm reminded of a time where I won't say any names, but a family member of ours, I felt was violating the boundaries we had within our marriage. And this woman would, sit on my husband's lap, text him early in the morning, first thing in the morning, just get real close and kind of violate it to where I felt very uncomfortable about this, obviously, because my husband is fine. But beyond that, I'm like, okay, this is not normal, And of course, he being the kind person that he is, if you guys know him, he could not see what I was seeing. And I knew I wasn't crazy, to say the least, because I'm not a jealous person. But again, when you have someone sitting on your husband's lap and, texting them first thing in the morning and, always just trying to be around them, it becomes a problem. So she and I did have a conversation. And I didn't tell her exactly the way I felt, but what needed to really take place was for him to set those boundaries with her and kind of let her know, hey, I can't text you early in the morning. I can't be on the phone with you. And, you can't sit on my lap. Like, this is not, And
that wasn't sitting. It wasn't like sitting on my lap, like a disrespectful sitting. I wouldn't take it as that.
Okay, so let's put this out there. This person is a lot older than we are. So he was taking it like it was a motherly kind of love. Yeah. But for me, it was different. So anyway, the point being is that he had to set those boundaries and back away from allowing things like that to happen.
Yeah. There's so many different types of boundaries you can set with people, or that you have to check out off a list. Check off a list. And I mean, you have different boundaries, like for instance, personal space is one that you
Right.
can look at.
Physical space, right?
Yeah, physical space. Mental boundaries. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
For yourself that you can set. What's another type that you can think of, babe?
The thing about it is what I'm thinking about is any relationship that you have that does not have a clear set of boundaries results in a misaligned relationship.
Right.
Meaning that the people in your life don't know where they're supposed to be. It was another example. I had a friend of mine who I love her dearly, but you know, she came to our house one day and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like one of those people where, you know, don't come to my house 3 o'clock in the morning unless somebody is not breathing or they dead, you know. But she came here and it was a situation that she had gone through. She woke the entire house up. My husband, he normally gets up for work at 4 a.m. So it messed his sleep schedule up. And I was just like, girl, this cannot happen. Like, I had to set those boundaries. And I do want to point out that I know I may have hurt her feelings in telling her that, but to me, I value more setting the relationship straight, letting her know where I stand on that, because I may be afraid to speak up and tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this because I'm more afraid if I don't tell you this, what's going to happen. Yeah. And so it all results back to self-care. Yeah, not definitely. Like you're being selfish, but you care enough about yourself to steward over, you know, what is going to bring you stress and what's going to bring undue hardship to your family because a relationship doesn't know its boundaries.
Right. And I think that if they want to be in a relationship with you, they respect that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some people, they a lot of times I call it a filter. They don't have a filter with it. So it's kind of like they weren't taught that. I mean, like I had friends that I would, when I was growing up, you know what I mean? A friend that would come in and, you know, just come in your house, hey, what's going on? And then they open your refrigerator. Ooh. For me, that's like,
My mama would have a fit. My mama would have a fit.
Yeah, so it's like, that's one of those things where, you know, you got to set boundaries. Especially, I mean, I think it's harder with us, with men and women. Maybe.
Probably so.
I think so.
You know, I think the hardest part about it is that saying no. Yeah. I think as human beings, we don't know how to say no sometimes. And we think that saying no means we're being mean, or saying no will take away validation from us, and saying no will make people not like us. But you have to choose. You know, your no means less stress sometimes. Right. Your no means, okay, even though I'm saying no, it'll eventually make our relationship better because you're not constantly doing things that'll make me feel uncomfortable to where I don't want a relationship with you. You get what I'm saying? Absolutely. And again, this is like you said, in different areas. I remember working with someone who I felt as though she was my friend, and I had to really back up and see, no, we're not friends, we're coworkers. Right. And so when I told you a secret in confidence, thinking that you understood that we were friends, I thought we were friends, we were coworkers, and you let that secret out. Now I came to the realization, whoa, I need a boundary here. Yeah. You know, it wasn't her fault because she was just being her. It was my fault because I didn't distinguish the difference between a coworker and a friend. Right. You get what I'm saying? And so the boundary was put in place where I eventually didn't tell her anything personal. And then she came to me like, hey, girl, you know, what's up with you? You just been standoffish. And I'm like, no, I'm not standoffish. You know, I'm just working on me and trying to figure things out. And I don't got nothing against you. I wanted it to be clear that it was nothing she did. I took on the responsibility for that. And a lot of times we have to do that. We have to take on the responsibility for what's happening in our relationships. Yeah. If we want those bad things to stop, you know, or the stressful things to stop.
I mean, and like I said, I categorize them a little bit more, like, because I know that you can have a material boundary, like, you know, like with your things. And that's something we may have, you know what I mean, in a marriage where I don't like my stuff to be touched. I hate it. It's deep rooted from, I got 11 brothers and sisters, so it's like privacy, you know what I mean? That's another boundary.
But okay, y'all, he doesn't like his stuff to be touched, but he will touch everybody else's stuff. That's what I don't get. I'll come home from work, school, whatever, and my entire bedroom is switched around. And I have to ask him, babe, where did you put my shoes.
In my defense, I know
Where
exactly
did you
where it
put
is.
my underwear
I'm just
drawer? My underwear
organized.
drawer used to be at the top, and now it's at the bottom.
You can't stand clutter.
Can't touch people's stuff without asking. Anyway, as you can see, this has been an argument of ours that we've had for quite some time, and so we've tried to set certain boundaries. But again, this is a relationship that to death do us part. So
yeah.
We just something we're gonna keep having to deal with these boundaries on tangible things.
But even now, we can approach the boundary surrounding this new COVID-19 thing. Where I mean, maybe you can chime in on this. I want to ask you guys, how do you navigate around your relationships with family and friends when, like, we've been taking this thing dead serious?
Yes,
you know what I mean. So it's like family, friends.
People are dying.
People are not coming over. We don't go over your house. It's dead set. That's it. So a lot of family members or friends may feel a discomfort with that.
Right.
They may feel, kind of funny, or they may feel that you're acting funny.
Listen, family. I love you. I love you.
We do.
But I'm gonna tell you right now, if my own mama is not coming in here and she knows the importance of, having a social distance at this time, you got to understand you're not getting in here. And that's another thing about relationship boundaries.
Yeah.
We have to know when to say no, guys. Mm-hmm. Even when it's not about social distancing. I'm talking about for small things, like maybe you got a friend that always needs a ride, or you got somebody that's always imposing, come out with me, come do this, and you trying to study, whatever the case may be. You got to know when to say no.
Right.
No is not a bad thing. You got to know when to say no.
The art of saying no. I think that's
the art of saying no. We got to look at that. Oh, I do. I would like to plug a book right here. It's by Dr. Darius Daniels.
Oh yeah.
Relational Intelligence. It's a great book. He is my mentor. I got to meet him one time in Atlanta, like in January, and he did sign the book. Can you guys see that? To Jamir and Deandra, love Darius Daniels, your mentor. We love you. But no, awesome man of God. And I hear there's a new book coming out about relationships from my time.
Relationship goals.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that one too. Yeah. So I don't mind paying, there's some good content, and these men of God who know what they're pushing out. And so we don't mind.
So we encourage you guys to check those books out.
Yes, check those books out.
Other than that, I mean, babe, how do we, I guess, to help the people, we want to add value to you guys.
Right.
How do we just deal with setting boundaries in an existing relationship? Because again, I believe it's harder with that than it is. I mean, initially we can set boundaries. You can tell somebody what you expect out of a relationship, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when your boys or whoever, you know what I mean, or your girls, y'all been that way for a while, but you know what? People grow and people change. So setting that boundary, I mean, I have some steps that I follow, but babe, did you want to say anything to that? Or
no, go ahead. Give us your steps, and then I'll, chime in after.
Okay, so the first thing that I say, and it's like the 5 eyes, I came up with them. I'm proud of that. The first one is identify. So thank you. But the first one is identify. Basically, that's where you recognize that there's a problem.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
Okay.
You recognize it right off the bat. So it's like, okay, if you have a friend who's going in your refrigerator and you don't want him to do that anymore.
Check him.
Well, first thing is you identify the problem. You know that there's a problem. Good, babe. You know what I mean? The second thing is the second I. So the first one is identify. The second I. Number 2, you're going to inform them. So what you do is you get that information out there. You let it be known, hey, this is not going to work for me, and we need to be
so that's when you check them. Hey, look, dude.
You inform them then.
Don't be going to my fridge.
Can't do it. No. So after you inform them, the third one is you're going to invite them. So you want to invite them into that. You want to say, hey, I'm giving you want to give them the opportunity to know that, hey, I value our relationship.
That's good.
And and I've informed you, hey, I want this boundary here, and I'm gonna be setting it. It's not a thing where I may be, or I'm gonna be setting this boundary here. And the reason I'm setting this boundary is because I want our relationship to last. So the next thing you want to do is implement it. Of course, you want to put it into play.
Yes.
So you want to apply that. And as far as that boundary, if it takes you a couple times to check them and say, hey, no, 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 to the point where you're like, all right, we may not hang out after you violated or for this one day or something like that. And then you again, you're repeating that process of informing them and say, hey, this boundary is here. You gotta cool it. The next one is going to be you inspect it. So over time, you're going to be going and looking at, you want to check it and make sure that the boundary is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Right. Basically.
That's so good, babe.
So those are my 5 eyes.
I'm going to go back and watch this and take some notes. That is awesome.
Yeah. So just to recap, identify.
Hey, is that him going to my refrigerator again?
Got you. You want to inform.
Dude, you can't be going in my refrigerator like that.
You want to invite.
Hey, come here. Let's talk about this and let's try to work this relationship out.
You want to implement.
Look, this is how we're going to do things. You don't go in my refrigerator when you come here, and I won't have to check you.
And then you're going to inspect.
Is this dude still going in my refrigerator?
Oh,
no. No, he's not. Okay, we're good.
It's tripping. So those are my 5 eyes. I mean, that's what I personally do. And again, that's for an existing relationship, how you can navigate that and,
Yeah, so
it doesn't work out for you.
When it all boils down, I would say setting boundaries are very important.
Yeah.
You want to keep these boundaries in place so that you can ultimately have a better mental being, a better physical and spiritual being, because when people violate our boundaries, it brings us unwanted stress.
Right.
And so that's our 2 cents. We
Yeah.
just wanted to give y'all something, like we said, we want to bring jewels. Yeah. Hey guys, if there is something you would like for us to talk about, any topics, any suggestions, please let us know. We love you guys, like for real. We really do love you guys. Like the purpose of this channel is to just help make life better in any way that we can, right? So we pray that it was helpful for you.
Yeah. And again, we're the Nicholsons, and we are signing off.
Signing off.
Y'all remember
the Harlem Shake?
No.